And I'm speaking to you live just outside.
I like to think balding is just God's way of saying, now let's see you get laid.
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
What I'd really like to do is put the greatness of this man in perspective.
The hairloss community has a lot to be thankful for, having you as a spokesperson.
You mean you just call this guy up?
About life and about reality.
And now, America's #1 reality radio show for men. Live from Los Angeles, it's Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
Hey guys, welcome to the broadcast, 888-659-3727. Can you hear me, Joe?
I can hear you. Music's
Good.
a little loud,
I'm turning the
but I
music
hear you
down.
just fine. It's about damn time.
Check. This is odd, but whatever, this is the way that it is. Like you said, you don't do analog, Joseph. And I still do. I just can't hear myself very well. But it seems like the levels are fine. I can bring it up slightly. 888-659-3727 is the toll-free number. It is great to be here, to see all of you guys, to do the live broadcast on Joe Tillman's Hair Transplant Mentor, the Hair Transplant channel, YouTube channel page, whatever it is.
Yep.
People ask me on Instagram, now that I'm becoming Insta-famous. I'm just kidding. Insta-famous. Wouldn't that be nice?
Let me stop you.
Yeah.
Let me stop you.
All right.
I'd like to throw out a big congratulations to Spencer David Kobren for hitting the big 10,000 followers on Instagram.
I mean, 26-year overnight success.
There we go. I found it eventually.
All right, we get it. We get it. If you were to tell some, some kid that you have 10,000 followers on Instagram, they would snub you. They wouldn't even want to be your friend. They would think it was ridiculous.
They disowned you. They'd block you.
They'd think
unfollow and block.
They'd be like, this dude is sus.
He's what?
Sus.
Oh,
that's what the kids say.
Another term
for a suspect.
He's sus. Okay. Robert Hellner, Joe, your hair looks like you just woke your ass up.
Robert always has the nicest things to say.
And that's fine. I got hair that can look like I just got out of bed. That's the whole point.
That's the whole point. Imagine, there was a time in Joe's life where he couldn't have bedhead.
Well, I had bedhead with 3 hairs sticking up.
Yeah. You had Homer bedhead.
I had Homer bedhead. Exactly.
You did.
Well said.
I'm trying to figure this out. Okay. All right, guys. Let me know if I'm too loud, Joe. I don't think that I am. I'm not peaking at all, but I'm...
No, you sound good. How's mine? Check 1, 2.
Beautiful.
Check.
Absolutely
check 1, 2.
Beautiful. Guys, listen.
Is it velvety? As
usual. I want to welcome everybody who's new to the broadcast, who may be tuning in from the Instagram page. I don't want to sound like an asshole. I know that sometimes I can. I try not to. But I cannot answer your DMs. I can't do it. Because while it's true I only have 10,000 followers on Instagram, for whatever reason, half of you think that I'm available to answer very questions that are not really unique to you in general. And here are the basic ones. Who's the best hair transplant surgeon in the world? I must get that 5 times a day. In the world, the best in the world. If money was no object, who is the best hair transplant surgeon in the world? Then people ask about specific clinics and specific surgeons. Now, someone asked me about a specific surgeon publicly today, and I essentially said, look, man, the reason we do what we do is so you don't have to ask us about our thoughts on a specific surgeon. We give you the tools necessary so that you can make informed decisions. So you have everything you need to help to navigate through this insanity, to look at before and after pictures, to understand, A, if they're legit, B, what the higher end standard of care is in this field, what you should expect, and understand that whatever these doctors are showcasing, that is their best work in general, or at least it's their average work. And if their average work is acceptable to you based on images, and if the images look like there's no color discrepancies or lighting discrepancies or angle discrepancies, then you could put them on your short list. But you still have to visit them, have a consultation with them, know what you're getting involved in, maybe ask to see their patients. There is a lot involved. This is surgery that is going to affect the rest of your life. Now, it's easy to make a living by putting yourself out there and saying, you know what, I can answer all of your questions and tell you what doctors you need to go to. That's the easy way to do it. It's a lot harder to teach you guys how to fish. Trust me.
That's right.
But that's what
I was reminded of the.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just reminded of the message I got. Bruh. Any recommendations for a good doc in Los Angeles for hair restoration? It literally started off with bruh.
I get that all the time.
Oh, I love it.
All the time. No, that was a perfect segue into a very similar situation. It's totally relatable, Joseph.
Yes.
Now, again, I don't want to sound like an asshole, but you cannot depend on the word of anybody just for your surgery. You have to understand what, if there's a doctor out there that looks like they're doing the type of work that you want to have done, that's how you start. That's how you start.
Yeah.
This particular doctor may not be the one that I choose for myself for various reasons. And I have a lot of reasons. I don't want to get into them. But I can't tell you who to go to. Now, I founded the International Alliance of Hair Restoration Surgeons over 20 years ago already. And we created a resource for you guys to start to do your research. It's, at the very least, it's going to give you a fighting chance not to get effed up. Can't guarantee that you won't get effed up, because there's not a doctor who performs cosmetic surgery that doesn't have at least one patient who believes that they were screwed.
I'd say at least 10 patients, but...
Yeah. But, the whole at least one patient makes the point, Joseph.
It does.
All right. I maybe more than 10 patients. How about that?
That's fair. That's a fair qualifier.
So I understand how social media works. I also understand, I've been in this game for a very long time. And our social media in the hair loss world started on, message boards originally, and then, message forums, sponsored message forums. And it's always been a very ugly place. And everyone's always asking for some sort of insight and, information. But now it's becoming getting to the point where people are becoming so lazy, they don't even want to do any of their own research. They don't even want to go to the bad places to do their due diligence.
Yeah.
To try to do their research. They just want a straight answer. Hey, tell me what to do. Hold my hand. Is this guy good? Thumbs up or thumbs down? They're not even willing to go down a rabbit hole.
Research after they've had their hair transplant. 2 days later, they get home, and then they start doing research because suddenly they're interested. More so now than ever. I don't know why. I've seen a pickup in that. Bruh, I just had my transplant 3 days ago. What do you think? I think you should have talked to me before you went.
Yeah. It's like getting a BJ from a stranger, and then all of a sudden you're like freaking out. Like, how can I get an STD from this? Think before it happens, dude. I'm not speaking from personal experience.
Speaking for a friend.
Just the first analogy that came to mind. What do I know? I don't know anything about that stuff. Guys, the phone number is 888-659-3727. Just trying to have a little fun here, Joe, on the bald show, for crying out loud. So depressing.
Reminds me of awkward moments. I remember there's this movie, little known Robin Williams movie called The Toy. And
I actually think I know it.
Yeah, it did terribly at the theater. And it was a bad movie overall. But there's this one scene where it just kind of stood out where it's this group of people around a table and they're trying to come up with a new toy. And, a new toy idea. And one person says, oh, we can come up with, a toy dog for kids or something. And, all these benign, boring suggestions. And then suddenly this one person hadn't said anything yet, just kind of speaks up and says, we could create a plastic poo that floats in the tub. Like when you're a kid. Everyone just stares at him.
I remember that scene, actually. And for some reason, I saw that movie.
Uncomfortable silence, So that's what that was. Just saying.
Only for you.
That was good.
Guys, the phone number is 888-659-3727, 888-659-3727. Toll free. Give us a call. Every line is open. Normally, at this point, we have some calls on the line. I think I plugged in the phones. I did. So you guys should give us a call because this is a call-in show. Someone's asking where the F is Morty. It's interesting. Morty kind of disappeared after, like, I would say it wasn't a unique incident. It was a pretty common incident. But he kind of disappeared a few weeks ago.
Yeah. Kind of odd.
I wonder if he had a conversation with someone that told him to disappear.
To not support the show, maybe?
I don't know, whatever. Guys, all the lines were just lit a second ago. What happened? Just now, I said to call in, you called in. 888-659-3727. Again, we are live. This is the Hair Loss Show. We're here to answer all of your questions. For anyone who follows me on Instagram, I can't answer all your questions. I will do my best to try to answer a few here and there. I can't answer DMs. It's not going to happen. It's not because I don't want to. Is that I do not have the time to do it, and that's what this Friday platform is for. All of your questions answered will take as much time as you need to answer your specific questions about your specific case and your needs. We are not here to sell you anything. You're not going to see Joe, at least at this point, bouncing around the internet wearing a laser cap or anything like that. Like all these other fools.
Not that I've not been asked. Because I have.
Dude. I showed you the insult.
I kind of regret.
I showed you the insulting comment that the person that reached out to me. Toupee company said that they want to give me free toupees.
You should have taken him up on it.
I was like, you mother effers. 888-659-3727. Some, Asian company, they're just sending out stuff. Or they may think I'm wearing a rug. Whatever. Let's see who this is.
So many jokes there. So many jokes there.
Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, can y'all hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. This is Steven. I live in Austin. I've called in a couple times before.
Hey,
Maybe
Steven.
once or
What's
twice.
happening, man?
Hey, Steven.
Not much. So the last time I called in, I had went to see Dr. Wong. It's probably been a long time ago. It's going to be, I don't know, 6-7 years ago at this point.
All right.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, that was the last. Yeah, that was the last experience. But I think something I heard y'all talking about, and I wanted to go back and find the episode, but I can't seem to find it. If someone talking about between an FUT and an FUE, and what's really saying that is the scar damage or just the amount of scarring with the FUT is actually less because it's kind of
that's correct.
confined all to one. Okay.
Well, as far as square centimeters, the amount of scar tissue on your scalp from having FUT compared to having a large, even a moderate session of FUE, is less. In order to move, say, even just 2,500 grafts, think about that. You have to make 2,000, unless you're splitting grafts, 2,500 punctate wounds into the back of a person's scalp and sides, usually above and below the sweet spot of the donor area. And that's just 2,500 grafts. That's in order to create this mosaic on the back of your scalp that will not be visible to the human eye. And, you know, you can cut your hair pretty short and it'll look like you don't have you wouldn't have anything done. However, once you go in and take more, you go to 5,000, 6,000, 7,000. You got guys getting 8,000 grafts. That mosaic becomes kind of like the weave kind of opens up a little bit. Let's put it that way.
The weave.
And you become, weave, no pun intended, and you become a lot more, you develop a lot more scar tissue all over your scalp. So that's why I say about these young guys who are going in, you know, they're headstrong, they go in, they decide to get large FUE sessions at a very young age. A lot of them are left, but say they start at 25. By the time they're 30, 32, they're left with nothing but, you know, looks like they got, you know, shot in the back of the head with buckshot, and their dicks in their hands. They don't have any more hair that could be moved, and their entire heads are scar tissue. That's a reality that most young guys don't want to grasp in this market.
Yeah, and one thing, so when I got mine, it was maybe, I think FUE is out there, but I think people hadn't really started doing large FUE sessions. And I remember, and I got 5,000 grafts in one go, but it was strip. Yeah. And I remember at the time, oh man, I wish I should have got an FUE because that was kind of the new thing.
Oh man, you
now I'm looking back on
dodged
that.
a bullet, my man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, people get angry with me. I don't know why. Do you not understand it? And I say this not because I need the credit, but it underscores the honesty of what we're trying to put out there. I introduced FUE to North America and to Europe. Didn't exist. And when I introduced it to these physicians, it was in my stupid thought process that what a great ancillary procedure, what a great adjunct to traditional harvesting. Now you can actually get more hair. You could really fix people who've been stripped out and, you know, who had bad strip surgery in the past. Mm-hmm. You know, what an incredible tool to have in your arsenal. But no. A few enterprising doctors were like, you know what? Fuck this. We're going to promote scarless surgery. And as soon as you do that, it creates consumer demand. And then all of a sudden, strip is archaic, strip is out. Now we're doing scarless, which isn't scarless, obviously. And that's how it all started. The industry was ruined, I would say, by a handful of, let's just say, enthusiastic, entrepreneurial physicians. Is that fair, Joe?
That's a good term.
Yeah.
That's fair. I like that. Ambitious
individuals.
They
saw a hole, man. and they fucking took it. They took that ball, and they grabbed it tight, and they ran through that hole.
One might say that they saw the future. However, others might say they saw an opportunity. Big difference.
I definitely saw the future. And the future, initially the future was to help people and save people from who were disfigured already, who were stripped out. I watched Ray Woods change people's lives from being unfixable, unmanageable, to being able to live a normal life and look normal. I thought it was an incredible procedure. But by 2002, and I predicted this, so did Ray Woods. I'm like, the Walking Wounded, it's going to be like a zombie apocalypse of Walking Wounded. And some of these guys aren't even going to know for 3 to 5 to maybe even 10 years down the line that they've been fucked. So, caller, 5,000 grafts moved with one strip. You still sound like you're pretty happy. That was the move.
Yeah, and that's kind of one thing that I think about is that I actually, I think one thing undeniable about the strip is that recovery is rough. I mean, maybe that's one thing you can really say about an FUE.
Oh, 100%. I mean, you're having your scalp, a peninsula of tissue removed from the back insides of your head, and then you have to be sutured. That's no joke.
Yeah.
That's real surgery. Now, you're not going into the internal organs, obviously, or into the skull, but it's a thing. Joe knows all about it.
Yeah. I don't look at it as being rough. But it's all relative. Like every time I had my surgery with your same doctor, the recovery was maybe just because I was used to it. Like I understood what to expect. There was no uncertainty. There were no question marks I had. I just pushed through, and it was like it's no big deal. Like after my last few surgeries, I got up off the table and went back to my desk and went back to work.
Yeah, but you also had access to the drug cupboards.
Actually, I didn't.
Oh, damn it. I can't even.
I don't know why.
Just joke
They
with
didn't
me.
trust me. I don't know why.
They didn't trust
I
themselves.
had my own drug cupboard.
Let me tell you, a lot of these docs can't trust themselves. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. He's. There we go. So.
I really should.
Yeah, where was I going with that?
Well, listen, caller. I don't know where you're going, but
anything.
we have some calls on the line. I think it's really important. Now, how old are you now?
Now I am 40. When I got it done, I was like 32, 33.
And would you say that the results of that strip have lasted you for this decade?
Yeah, pretty much. And that's kind of one thing I was thinking was that, I've thought of have no immediate plans, but have thought about getting another. And I was like, I had a good outcome with the strip. Like maybe why chance it? Why mess with it if you ever? And I guess you can go back after 5,000 with the strip. You can actually go back.
If you have enough scalp laxicity, you can, and you can probably get another strip, and you might be able to get another 2,500, 3,000. Who knows? Depending. I mean, you could have one of these, Shar-Pei scalps. You never know. But if you're happy with what you have right now, you're still only 41, right? I mean,
yeah,
you got a lot of grafts in the bank. These kids who had 5,000 moved via FUE, they don't have those grafts in the bank like you do. You can double what you've already done, or more, maybe, possibly. I mean, with body hair. I mean, but you could double. You could do at least, or get at least 8,000 grafts. I think that's reasonable if you needed it in the future. Would you say, Joe? I mean, I don't know how big this guy's head is, but
well, I'd say that just based on the way I used to look at this when I worked in clinic and we were doing 4,000, 5,000 graft sessions all the time, based on patients coming back, I came up with the idea with the understanding that for every strip that you have subsequent to the first, assuming the first was going for a large number of grafts, you could get roughly 60% of that previous surgery in your subsequent surgery. So you had 5,000 at first surgery, you could probably get 3,000 in the second one, based on the way I know how he operates. Pun intended. Now that's a very generalized number, because I have no idea what you look like, haven't tugged on your scalp, none of that good stuff. But I remember calculating that just based on the averages from previous patients. That's the way it would usually work out. Maybe 40 to 60%, but 60% was a solid number that was pretty consistent. So yeah, maybe 3,000 that next surgery.
And then God
second
forbid,
surgery
if you need
is
more,
something that.
Yeah, go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
Yeah, but a second surgery is something that is always something that needs to be seriously considered, not for the possibilities, but for the positive possibilities, but also for the negatives, because 5,000 is a big number. If you're happy with everything as it is, then how much more would you need to where you'd feel better about having a second, or you feel justified for having a second surgery? Like I believe in multiple surgeries, obviously, but a lot of times they don't work out to be as beneficial in the mind of the patient as the first one. So you don't get that same holy shit moment when everything grows in. It's just like, oh, okay, that's a nice boost, that kind of thing. But your case may be different. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, listen, brother, we're going to go and take some more calls, but I'm glad that you called in. I'm glad, it really shows to have those many grafts moves. That's a big number. And you hear these numbers all the time now in this current market. And when you see the donors that are decimated by that number because of careless FUE, or the person just really isn't a candidate to have that much hair moved by FUE in one shot. You are a shining example of what anyone in the industry would really consider the gold standard. It's still strip. Now, there are people out there, doctors that even work with me, that will be like, Kobren, I can't believe you're still promoting that nonsense. I'm not promoting anything. I'm just telling the truth. And I know the truth hurts when you change the entire infrastructure of your practice just to accommodate one type of procedure. But it is what it is. All right, brother. Thanks for the call.
All
right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, man.
888-659-3727. I actually think I know who this is, hopefully. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this?
Здорово, мужики. Как дела? Hey, what's
hello,
up,
man.
guys? It's me.
Oh, what's up, man? Dude, you see, this guy, he hung up. He couldn't hold on.
Me?
That's okay.
No, another guy. Go ahead, man.
Another guy?
What's up? Who's
Yeah,
this? What's
how
your
are you?
name?
My name is May.
Oh, May, what's happening, dude?
Hey, May, how's it going?
Good.
So what's happening?
What's new? What's the latest?
The latest? So
Yes.
we tried to... so my latest, related to my HT, I don't know, 8 months. The more months, the better. Yeah, but we're trying to find a doctor for my cousin from the father's side, which I just can't fuck him up. I just can't fuck him up. He has that thick hair. I told you once, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we stick to the idea that we need as many singles on the hairline. Yeah. And I
remember this conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. And we like our preliminary assessment shows us that Dr. Bisher gives at least 1,000 singles according to her presentations.
Mm-hmm.
Almost in every operation when Norwood 4 or higher. Yeah. So I saw the results on the forum posted by her. Yeah. And she says that 3.5 thousand and grafts and 1,000 grafts singles. 2.5 thousand and 1,000 graft singles. And many, not many, but few cases like this out there. Yeah, but we couldn't reach her last week. We trying to schedule the consultation, and during the last week we tried to look for another options. Doctors who.
Now you're just trying to you just want other options to have a consult with, or just because you can't reach her, you're willing to switch and go to another doctor.
No. So this is strategy. We would still want to speak to other.
So let me ask you a question. When you say you couldn't reach her, was it that you spoke to the office and they said she's unavailable now, or there's just no answer?
No, not serious problems about that. So her assistant, she's in touch with me by WhatsApp, and she says that I think she says that Dr. Bisher is busy, and I think we're gonna try to do this next week.
Okay.
So I think not a big promise about that. But what is really frustrating that those two doctors, AFUE doctors we spoke to, we just couldn't establish a deal, when we trying to predetermine or set up values of that particular parameter. They say, we say we know that we need at least 1,000 because we told them that we need 1 centimeter deep of our hairline filled up with singles. We think that would be 1,000.
Okay, so we're gonna try to get to the point. So you were unable to solidify a plan of attack, a surgical plan with her, or are you talking about you're concerned about unable to solidify the deal as far as the money?
No. A deal. They say maybe we will not give you 1,000, but we will make your hairline look natural.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. I think it's important. I think it's important that you're not focused on the exact numbers and more focused on, you have to put your trust in this particular physician and understand, especially Dr. Bisher, knowing, she's been doing this for a long time. If you trust her level of skill and her judgment, then you may need your cousin may need less than 1,000 singles. It's all based on his own physiology and what they think is going to look best on this particular patient. So you really do the math like that. It's kind of difficult.
Yeah, and I think it's important to remember, May, we were talking about this when you called last, and I was telling you that there is no standard for the number of singles, and the more singles is not necessarily better for naturalness. It can actually be a detriment depending on the type of hair. In other words, it can work against you. So if you have a patient where the hair is very coarse, black, on fair skin, you actually want fewer singles. You want singles for the very front, but you don't want there to be a lot of singles, because singles, no matter how well they're created or we'll say refined using microscopes, they will always look slightly pluggy if the density is not higher than average for a hair transplant. So the trick is to not have more singles for naturalness. It's actually to have fewer singles. And then you have doubles and triples right up to the front of the hairline for the density that you need. That is a distraction to the eye. So you don't notice that there's like, say, 300 singles in the front as opposed to 1,000 singles. The numbers are irrelevant, actually. It's all extremely unique to each patient and the characteristics that they bring to the table. So I think it's a good idea to get off of that number, or to get off of get away from the idea that the more singles the better, because that's not the case. That's definitely not the case.
Well,
Okay.
Can you repeat, please, why you said that even if we have singles, it still be looking pluggy because of what? Because of
Joe, can you
higher
repeat your
density,
entire
lower
20-minute statement?
I was going to say, look, May, a black, thick, coarse hair on fair, light-colored skin can look pluggy no matter how well it's refined under microscopes. It's simply the nature of the hair itself. There's nothing that any clinic can do to make an individual single hair graft look 100% natural in those conditions every time. Okay? So, look, watch the replay of the video, because I went through the basics of this, and I don't want to repeat myself. It's too much. But just trust me on this. The numbers and the idea that more singles are better is not true. Okay? Singles, yes, absolutely, for the frontal hairline. But it's not a situation where the more singles you have, it's just going to be automatically a more natural result. That's not the case. That's not true.
And it really does.
You have to have a certain ratio.
Right. The ratio is really important. I think Joe made a good point. And if you have too many singles, just like if you have doubles or triples in the hairline looks stalky. That's just the way that it is. You have a thicker base to a terminal hair that's transplanted, a graft, than you would if it was growing out of your natural hairline. So it really is an art to utilize singles mixed with larger grafts behind them or around them, so that you don't have any stocky appearance. I've seen people who just I just remember the old, and listen, this guy was the king at the time, back in the day, but I remember some of the old Seeger hairlines. I don't know if you remember them, Joe. But there was a time when they really were splitting those grafts and just really concentrating on mega session, a lot of singles in the front. And while the hair was a lot softer than a lot of people were producing at the time, it still looks stocky. Just too many singles, in my view. Yeah. So listen, May, we're going to let you go. We got a lot of calls online. I think it's a good idea. Listen to the replay. Joe explained it really well. And I would say you have to kind of trust, once you find the right doctor, you kind of have to, in the end, trust their...
No, guys. I got your point. Thanks for that. But when you say trust me or trust the doctor, no, I'm going to try to do some research more to understand technical aspects.
All right. No. I'm going to give you, May, I'm going to speak over you right now. First of all, you got to let somebody finish your thought. We're trying to help you here. And when I say I don't trust anybody, that's one thing you should have learned from me watching this program for a long time. But if you choose a doctor that you know has a good track record, eventually you have to entrust them with your care. And you have to trust their aesthetics and their ability to practice medicine and their expertise. Because you're not performing the surgery, my man. And neither is your cousin. So at some point, you have to trust somebody. Does that make sense?
You have to hand it over.
At some point, of course, at some level. But when we try to predetermine some parameters, we have to try to hit to these parameters, And 500 grafts skillfully allocated on the hairline, and, you say that doubles are allocated and surrounded skillfully by singles. sometimes is. But so,
No. Basically, I'm not talking about surrounded, not in front, not necessarily to the side, but usually behind. I know there's a language barrier to some degree, but you gotta try to listen. That's why I think Joe is right. You gotta listen back to the replay. My mantra is trust no one. That's number one.
My too. After first hair transplantation, and I think I had more or less good transplantation. Still, I think that we need to try to discuss with the doctor as much details as possible.
All right, buddy.
So
Listen, good luck. We got
500 is 1,000 is always better. Well, at least today for me.
All right. Well, you'll figure it out. Okay. Just don't be dogmatic. Listen, learn, listen to what the doctor has to say.
Your head like pointing the gun at me when you put the palm on this keyboard. Yeah. Bye. Thank you for help.
See you later, man. Bye.
See ya.
Christ. I don't mean to get angry, but when all of a sudden it's like, no, we don't. I don't trust that. I get it. I am the king of not trusting anybody.
It's like, who are you talking to?
And you shouldn't just trust people. You got to do your research.
Yeah.
But Joe Tillman gave you some really solid advice. I tried to provide a little input as well. That's the best we can do. And if you're going to hold a gun to someone's head, to use your terms, to give your cousin 1,000 singles, you may end up fucking up your cousin's look. Okay, you got it, sir. We'll give you 1,000 singles. It's not going to look good, but we'll do it because that's what you want.
But you asked for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you want.
Hey, man, you're on the air. Who's this?
Spence.
Andrew Zarian.
Yes, sir.
Creator, founder, CEO, Guys from Queens Network, Matt Men Podcast. Welcome.
The Wrestling Observer Radio
the owner
show
of the eyebrows that don't quit.
Hold on. Let him give his plug. What's the plug?
The Wrestling Observer Live Radio Show, 330 markets.
Unbelievable, dude. Congratulations. Mazel tov.
Congratulations.
Listen, dude, I'm just following the footprints of Spence. It's whatever Spence told me to do.
Yeah, I mean, it worked for a while, dude. I had 11 years where people had no idea. They're like, how the fuck is this guy making a living? I would drive up to the Westwood One studio in like a really, in a nice sports car, whatever it is. And the so-called talent getting into their, Lexuses or Toyotas or whatever, they didn't understand it. They couldn't figure it out. So I'm proud of you, man.
Same with me, dude. Nobody can figure it out. Nobody knows what I do.
Yeah, good for you. Keep that shit on the
I'm
radar.
Wrestling, I'm in the titty business. I'm in the hair business. I do a little of everything. I'm a huge advocate now for, do you know how many, Spencer, the conversations every day that I have with people now, okay? It is, should I go on Finasteride?
Dude.
Should I go to Turkey to get a hair transplant?
Yeah. Dude, you are like the Pied Piper of the bald strippers.
Dude, did you see, you got that video I sent you, right? Of that poor girl, that influencer.
It's interesting. I was going to write something because she has a smaller Instagram and to try to guide her safely because I could already tell she's being screwed. Just by how she described. She doesn't even know what the medication is that she's going to get on. And she's talking about having 30 injections into her scalp. Of what?
Of what?
I thought she was talking about PRP. Okay, so for people who don't know, there's this influencer. Her name is Mia. She does this thing with her family where, like, she harasses her mom, and she talks about her fitness journey. She lost a lot of weight, and all of a sudden, she put out this video, and I loosely follow her, and she was talking about her hair loss and the trauma it's caused, and I saw it, and I felt so bad for her.
Let me ask you a question,
I said the suspense. Yeah.
So did she start to you just said she went through, because I didn't even look at her page really, except she had a lot of followers. Did she lose her hair after she lost the weight?
I believe so.
Oh my God, I should reach out to her. I hope she responds, because that telogen effluvium will eventually reverse without any intervention, especially if it was. It's unlikely that it triggered female pattern hair loss. unless she has a very strong
But, I mean,
propensity.
you know, the conversations that I have with people more, Mark, because I think the conversation for hair loss for men has become very mainstream now.
Oh, yeah.
It's everybody's talking about it. It's become so much more socially acceptable to talk about being on finasteride or taking or using minoxidil or even going and getting a hair transplant. I had to talk someone out of it. I'm not going to name the doctor in Turkey, okay?
Okay.
But I recognize the name. It was not a name he should have associated with. It was barely a hair transplant surgeon. It was one of those all-in-one shops.
Yeah. You get
You
your
know,
teeth.
you get your tire.
You get your teeth
tire
done.
rotated. You get your teeth done. They buff out your teeth.
You know what's
get your
funny
tire
about the
rotated.
people who get their teeth done in Turkey? They in their mind they think they're getting veneers when in fact they're essentially getting crowns.
And you know what's funny? That's the Turkish special, right? And,
Yeah.
and that's what happened to our friend. Chauncey went down there. Chauncey's like, "Oh, I'm going to get veneers." And I'm like, "Great. You're going to go get veneers." He sends me a photo, and he looks like a monster.
Dude.
They shaved out his teeth, and they put those things, they put a bridge on it. That's all it is, right?
It's an entire bridge of they're crowns, and the long-term complications of that shit could be devastating to people. Plus,
I'll tell you though,
look,
those
I like
things
white
glow in the
teeth,
dark.
but I mean, this guy really went white, man.
It glows in the dark.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. You see, it's like you see that all over Britain, man. Like every like English influencer has got the Turkish specials. They're not veneers.
Listen, but I get it, dude. You know, you're gonna pay like $2,500 for a $50,000 procedure in the States.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they're gonna fly you out there, and they're gonna put you in that limo, and they're gonna put you in a nice hotel, and you kind of get bamboozled by this whole experience. You know, like.
And then your healthy teeth,
teeth
are turned into sticks and covered.
Yeah, that's it.
With crowns.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. But, you know, that's the world that we're in right now. But with the hair transplants, it's crazy. And I'm sure there are great doctors in Turkey. And you work with some great doctors in Istanbul. And
yeah.
You know, I listen to the show all the time. And Joe, you know a bunch of great doctors over there, too. But it's such a cluster F.
I don't even think there's 10.
Doing the research and finding these people. No, I don't think there's 10 either.
Yeah.
You know, they're all in Istanbul. I mean, whoever it is, you know, that's where they're going. But
look, if I wanted to start an organization, basically just, you know, Doctors of Istanbul or some shit like that, every single doctor would pay me. It could just be like, I could do it on a down low. You and I could start like an LLC. No one would fucking know. You know, slap on the American Hair Loss Association seal, boom. Done. It's as easy as that to make money in this industry. And the Turks,
dude,
these guys, they want it. They want it badly, man. They contact us all the time, every day. They just want in.
Well, they've become, it's not just hair transplant. They're really becoming the plastic surgery capital
of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. They figured out the marketing of it. And that's all it is. It's just marketing.
Brilliant.
Before the pandemic happened, we were in Manchester, right? And that's what we were talking to. Every one of those doctors, some fantastic doctors, some not so good doctors. We were all talking, and, you know, they were awed by my ability to market.
Yeah.
And, you know, like if I was a piece of crap, I could have bamboozled all those guys for $10,000-$20,000, and they would have paid it happily.
Easily.
And they're paying that now. They pay that to firms with no ethics, just putting the most ridiculous stuff on social media. They're taking out ads on TikTok. They're hiring one influencer. They're paying them $7,000, and that influencer is bringing them 30, 40, 50 schmucks to go to Turkey and to butcher their hair. I mean, listen, and I'm not talking about the good doctors, right? I'm talking about the majority of it, which isn't
absolutely
good. But I had to spend, thank God, I've come from the school of the bald truth, because I could have been bamboozled by these people, and I would have probably all these people would have gone there and gotten these terrible, terrible hair transplants. I saw he's a chef. His buddy just went down to Turkey, got a hair transplant 8 months ago, okay? Yeah. 8 months ago. He still has complications from the hair transplant.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
And it was supposed to be an FUE. You know, it was supposed to be easy.
Do you know how angry... I have guys who contact me when they see a post that I make on Instagram. They are so fucking angry. They're like 24, 28, 30 years old. They're like, you don't know what you're talking about, man. I just got it done, and I got a limousine. They took great care of me. My hairline looks great. I'm 4 months out, and I'm ecstatic. I'm just like, good for you. Good for you. Call me in 5 years.
That's all you can say.
Call me in 5 years when you're sitting there with a Smith & Wesson to your temple.
Yeah.
Thinking your life is over. I tell all these kids, you know what? Taking the easy road today usually ends up putting you on the hard road in the long run. You got to do your research.
Baffling part of this?
What is it?
These guys are going there. They're getting hair transplants, right? Young guys.
Mm-hmm.
No finasteride prescription. No minoxidil. Nothing. There's no after treatment. There's no after prevention. 24, 23 years old, you get a hair transplant. What are you going to do when you're 36?
They're not thinking that far ahead, and they don't give a shit. They
have
want
no concept.
They want to get it done today.
The same people are sitting there and telling me that I have blood on my hands because I advocate for the positives of finasteride. It's December 4th, 2014. That was the day I took it live on The Bald Truth. That was my first Propecia.
You know what?
I remember that. I remember that.
We were fucking loaded, too. But here's the thing, and I don't advocate drinking and taking finasteride together, but whatever. You, knowing who you are, and I appreciate, everything about you, man. But you definitely, you enjoy your handsome appearance, and as you should.
I do.
And you would have had a hair transplant. You would have gone to Turkey for a hair transplant if you didn't know me.
Mm-hmm.
If I didn't know you, honestly, I was already hyper obsessed with the hair stuff.
Yeah.
But if I didn't know you, I probably would not have gone off finasteride.
No.
And I would have had severe hair loss.
That's true.
I mean, I'm not exaggerating it. I would have had some serious hair loss. I think it would have been more thinning than just, the crown just going away. I think I would have just had overall thinning. But what do you do then? Now, I'm 39 now, right? I'm going to be 40 next year.
Yeah.
Now I would be contemplating for my 40th birthday, do I get a hair transplant and where do I go? And do I want to spend $40,000, $36,000 for a hair transplant?
Yeah, but think about all the good years.
Yeah, you're right. I probably would have got the turkey.
Think about all the wonderful years you've had. You're almost 40. Think about that. And I always tell these kids, the closer they can wait, the closer to death you are, the better off you are as far as getting a hair transplant. And what does that mean? That means that you want long-term results. You want the hair transplant to last, and you want to be able to enjoy it throughout, whatever, this chapter of your life. You get it when you're 24 years old. That is so unlikely, especially in today's market, especially because...
But even if you get it, Spence, Joe, I mean, wouldn't you say if you go on, if you're 24 years old and you have enough hair loss to go, let's say, it's not so much the temple points, you're just going to do a small procedure. Shouldn't the first thing you do is go on finasteride?
Yes. It's a standard for me. I think that if you've had any loss at that age, you absolutely have the chance for more loss in the future, and you just don't know. Like there are situations where I've had patients come up and come to me, and they have no real hair loss to speak of. They might have triangular alopecia, like they were born with really high temples, and they can demonstrate that they've lost 0 hairs, more or less, in the first 25 years of the life. There's no family history of hair loss. Then sure, that's something that can be investigated and considered. But if there's any recession at all, aside from going from a 12-year-old hairline to an adult hairline, then I think it's absolutely, maybe not finasteride, but some sort of preventative measures should be put in place to safeguard against the future. 100%. Every time.
Listen, I just saw one of my buddies. He's a life modification doctor. And I was telling him, I go for
what
every
the hell's
TRT
a life modification doctor?
Given.
That's a great, that's a winner, man. That is a winning term. That is like combination anti-aging, biohacking,
Yeah. Life mod.
What is it?
It's LifeMod, and I'm not giving them a plug, but I got to tell you though,
MD.
That's what it is. LifeMod MD. That's his site, and this was not intended to be a plug, but
it's fine.
I've been on TRT for 5 months now. 3 months? No, 3 months. And I was talking to him, and we're friends. I'm like, "Are you prescribing finasteride with this?" He goes, "Almost everybody."
Yeah, sure.
Almost everybody that comes in that gets on TRT, I bring up, "Hey, have you considered going on finasteride because you can have hair loss from this?"
Right. Absolutely.
And I up my finasteride since I've been on it. Listen, I've cut weight. It's actually unbelievable.
Dude,
it's
I'm close. I'm close.
It is.
I'm just having a mental struggle, but I am almost 58 and a half now, right? So I'm getting closer to 60. I'm working out more. I feel good, and I've been able to maintain a lot of muscle mass over the years. But I know if I just took a little TRT, just a little bit, just get my levels up a little bit, it would be like this guy is somehow found the fountain of youth.
I'm gonna tell you how it works, okay? And I'm not an idiot that falls for these things, right? I'm very much a skeptic when it comes to taking any kind of medication like this. Even with finasteride, I delayed it because I didn't think I would get the results that I did.
Yeah.
Within the first week and a half of going on TRT, the mental clarity is astonishing.
Interesting.
That's the first thing you see. Your thought process, you just handle stress so much better. And then after 6 weeks on it, even without working out, you're like, oh, look at my traps look good. My chest is bigger.
Yeah.
My skin is smooth. All these old man issues start kind of dissipating a little bit.
Yeah, I got to get rid of.
You grow a third.
I got to get rid of the old man issues.
You grow a third leg. You grow a third leg. That's a whole different story. But not the one that you want, Joe. That's the problem.
Well, that's a fourth leg for me.
Everyone knows Joe's little problem.
But listen, I think it's unbelievable. I think it's unbelievable. Now we have all these things. We have the peptides now, which I'm starting in a week. I'm doing the peptides. But I had to up my finasteride because I'm doing all these things.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that was a smart move, and I recently upped my finasteride because I things started to go south a little bit, very slowly. I still feel exceptionally fortunate. Like I said, I mentioned my age for reasons. I want the young guys to know, the guys who are afraid to get on finasteride or whatever, or they don't think it's going to work out for the long term. I've been on it for almost 30 years. 30 years. Now, have I had any adverse side effects that I'm aware of? No. I don't know if whether minor health issues or whatever I've dealt with were somehow connected to finasteride. I doubt it. But whatever. I don't know what's going to happen. But it's like any other drug you put in your body. Anytime you put a drug, food. What's funny I find interesting about guys? They have no problem going out and binge drinking. Like downing like a half a bottle of Jack Daniels and beers on a Sunday or on a Saturday night. They, basically possibly causing cancer, all kinds of issues, but they're terrified to take finasteride.
Yes. And guess what? Yeah. And guess what, Spence?
Yeah.
They go home, right?
And they can't
get it up. Bang their wives.
Yeah.
And they can't get it fucking up. And guess what they blame? Finasteride. Oh, it must be the finasteride. I'll never forget that caller. You had a caller years ago, okay? I don't know if you remember this. He was 41, 42 years old. He was a workout guy. He worked out a lot. And he called in. I was listening to the show, and he was saying how, he's lost ground. His muscles are softer. He's tired. He's not in the mood as much. And I'm thinking, I think I called in afterwards, and I think during the show he said he was on other medication also.
Yeah.
And he was kind of pointing the fingers at finasteride. And I'm like, dude, you're 42, 43 years old. You've been on it for 10 years, 12 years, 10 years. You're not the same guy you were at 30.
But there's also the guys. There's also the guys, and I love these calls. The guys that call in, and they are 38 to 39 years old. They felt perfectly fine for a few years on finasteride, and then they start to talk about the adverse side effects, and then you ask simple questions like, "Well, are you taking any other medications?" All these guys have been put on a statin. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So you combine the statin with finasteride. Statins really, in my view, I mean, there's a laundry list of adverse side effects that, that's one drug that I don't think anyone's really going to investigate because it's the biggest selling drug like in humanity.
Not yet, anyway.
Not yet. I don't know if they ever going to truly investigate it. I mean, you're going to see a lot of articles about it, which you already have, but everyone's kind of touting that as misinformation. But statins fuck you up. That's it. My cousin, and you know my cousins, one of the doctors in my family, cardiologist.
I thought you meant the one that my wife met.
No, not the guy with the choppers. This is I'm not going to name him because people look him up. He's a very well-known cardiologist in New York. And I just remember, and I was young when he told me this, and he was having a couple of drinks. We were at the Palm in New York, the original Palm before they closed it down. And for some reason, I don't know why he decided to talk to me about this, but he was saying, no matter what happens, if a doctor ever tells you to get on statins, don't do it. So I'm thinking, is he guilty because he's used to prescribe statins because he's a cardiologist, whatever. Basically he said the benefits are incredibly negligible compared to the potential adverse side effects. And if you do have high cholesterol, there really is no current data, that really indicates that you are at a much higher risk of heart disease. And if your cholesterol is higher past the age of 50 or 60, I think, than the average person, you actually have the possibility of living longer, at least statistically. So the whole cholesterol statin thing, there's a lot of misinformation out there. But I found it funny. This guy's job was to prescribe this stuff, and he won't prescribe it. So
we have a friend.
Go ahead,
Spence. You and I, we have a friend. He's a comic, okay?
Yeah.
But not the big comic. It's another comic.
The second comic.
The second comic.
The friend of the big comic.
The other dude.
Yeah.
The friend of the big comic.
Yeah.
He went on Finasteride.
I remember he said he couldn't get his dick hard.
And he said he couldn't get it up. But you know what he didn't tell you? That he was on some sort of SSRI as well at the same time.
Yeah. That combination, man.
And I'm like, and it's the finasteride you're pointing the finger to, not the thing that's altering everything in your body and permanently damage. Listen, and I'm not against SSRIs. I just think it's overprescribed. How are you? Where's the correlation? And I tried to explain. I'm like, dude, I'm not a doctor, but I've been on this medication enough. I read enough about it. I saw the topic today of the show, and that's why I'm bringing this up with finasteride. That it's going to be banned in the UK, and I think Well,
Joe hasn't even got into it. I don't think it's going to be banned in the UK, but it's interesting.
I mean, this is a country that prescribes you olive oil for ear infections.
Yeah.
Maybe they. I'm not exaggerating.
Yeah.
You get an ear infection, that's what's happening. You're getting olive oil.
They've just started to get dentistry straight in the last decade.
It's remarkable. It's actually amazing. Modern medicine, it's happening. But this guy, and I sat down and I told him, I mean, thank God his hair is held up, but there's so many of these stories of people that are afraid because of some wackos on the message board. Listen, I'm not denying that there is post-finasteride syndrome and some people really suffer from it and it doesn't work for them. But 90-something% of people that are on this medication take it and you never hear from them. We have a friend, close family friend. He came over, him and his wife came over one night. We're having a couple drinks. I gave him my finasteride. I had an extra 30-day supply. I said, here you go. Take this. Take it every day and go see your doctor. Go to HIMSS. Go to whatever. And again, I don't want to plug anybody. Go to any of those services and just sign up, $20 a month. And his wife didn't allow him. And do you know what he is now?
Bald.
A tremendous Norwood.
Yeah.
Bald.
He's a sad. He's a sad.
I love that. I love that. TremendousNorwood.com. I love it.
I remember speaking to our comedian friend, and I remember just his line of questioning when he wanted my advice, and it was very pointed and understandably so because of the stuff you read online. But he had in his head even before he took that pill that he was going to have some sort of sexual side effects. Just the line of questioning. I think I even told him if you think this way, you shouldn't take it. That's usually what I say.
Yes, because he went on a forum and he read all the anonymous complaints.
Well, we can talk about what Joe is going to talk about. We do have calls, but I will tell you this, and I think it's important for young guys. We've all gotten shit for just talking about our experience with finasteride. But between the years of 1992 and 2005, there wasn't a single reported, at least online, complaint by any individual about long-lasting adverse side effects post-discontinuation or after discontinuation of the drug. Didn't exist. I got thousands of phone calls over the years through the show. We were actually on national radio. There wasn't a doctor in my group of doctors, and I think at the time I was still about 60 or 70 doctors, thousands of prescriptions. Not one brought this up. It wasn't brought up in a single meeting of hair loss specialists. Mm-hmm. From people who prescribe this all over the world to thousands upon thousands. I'm talking about tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of patients. Not one. 2005, it was a single guy. Then it was two guys. They were on an RX message forum type of thing where they reviewed finasteride, and it started. And I never forget when Erwig did his study, which was actually a survey. I had him on the program in 2010.
Yep.
That's what started it all. And I asked him point blank, I said, did you actually conduct a study? Or was this like a handout survey? And he said, well, I mean, it all depends on what you consider a study. I'm like, well, usually,
no.
Usually in a study, in what's considered to be a clinical study, there is a control group. There's a group that's on medication. You're actually handing out medication, treating the patients during this study. And so he essentially just interviewed people who were part of a very specific message forum who all complained about post-finasteride syndrome. And that was it. That was put out there by the press. Then the lawyers and the ambulance chasers came out. And then all of a sudden it was a phenomenon like I've never seen. Mass hysteria. People running in the streets. Dogs and cats. Mm-hmm. What is it? Having sex?
Sleeping together.
Sleeping together.
Sleeping together. Complete pandemonium.
It was pandemonium, And
dogs and cats sleeping together.
It was a really interesting phenomenon to watch. And now, based on all of this stuff, people who are taking it, they're still now the complaints are real, and these people really have these side effects now. But how is it possible they didn't have them before?
Listen, I think these people are genuinely suffering from those side effects. Whatever they think is happening, I think is happening.
100%. 100%.
Something's causing it.
Their penises are inverting and they're becoming feminine. They're becoming women. I believe it all.
If you think you can't get it up, you cannot get it up. No matter how that is. Once that adrenaline kicks in, you're done. It is a normal thing. Like a young guy, like first time or whatever it is, that shit happens, and sometimes that sticks with people. But once you think that's going to happen, it's going to happen. That's what I tell people. Look, if you're not mentally equipped to understand the reality of this drug, even if the clinical trials were incorrect, multiply the clinical trial adverse effects by 10. That will still bring it up to about, 85% of the people not suffering from adverse side effects? And then take a look at the real clinical data for hormonal birth control in women, and the level of it. Forget about, they had to put a black box warning on them because, women are dying from this stuff, and it's being prescribed like candy. But adverse sexual side effects from oral contraceptives, it's huge. It is a huge complaint.
Forget about the prescription, right? Spence, forget about how birth control is prescribed, like to everybody. How are you not, and I asked this to so many people and nobody can give me an answer, right? How are you not doing a hormonal level test before? If I want to go on TRT, right, I have to go to a doctor, get my blood work done, see where my range is, And then if I fall within that range, if the doctor is ethical and the doctor is doing the right thing, he will then prescribe me whatever it is for the range that I'm falling into. And the prescription will be different depending on if I need to put it on one time a day or 2 times a day. But at 14, 13 years old, at the peak of puberty, a girl could go in, get birth control, no questions asked, no tests done, and here you go, one size fits all. And if you have any adverse side effects in 3 months, come back and maybe I'll give you something else.
Well, exactly. They'll change your pill. Now, look, there's long-term adverse side effects. It's a thing. There's a couple of really great documentaries about it, but it also changes a woman's pheromones. It changes who they're attracted to. And then when they get off the pill, they're like, wait a second, I married this schmuck? I mean, a lot of real stuff. But there's also a lot of diseases associated with long-term use. And listen, there's also a large segment of the population that are fine. They take it for years and nothing happens to them, like any other drug. But why isn't that discussed? And why isn't the adverse sexual side effects discussed? Is it because women's sex lives aren't important? Is it because, I mean, I know there's some politics involved in all this stuff, and I am certainly pro, women's autonomy and their ability to use and I've been a benefactor of birth control myself. But at least inform these poor people. Let them know that it's currently the number one trigger of early onset female pattern hair loss. No gynecologist is going to warn a young girl that, hey, listen, if you have any baldness in your family, you may not want to take this. So anyway, nice rant, good conversation. I think we need to
go. I want to say, Tillman's hair looks remarkable. I'm watching him right now. And the beard, big part. I'm a big fan of the beard. Don't get rid of the beard, and the hair looks great.
Dude, if I had your eyebrows, I'd be the full package. I'm just telling you. Like, you got the best eyebrows in the business, brother.
If I had his eyebrows, I would shave everything. I would just shave my head. I'd be done.
There would be no bald truth. That would be the bald truth.
Yeah, I would just be. Yeah,
that would be.
I would just have like these caterpillar eyebrows, shave my head, and get super jacked.
Spence, that's the next book, right? Your next book?
That's
the Bald Truth Part 2. It's just one page. If I had Zarian's eyebrows, I'd shave my head.
That's
done.
it.
Book, game over.
I mean, as far as if I ever get a hair transplant, that may be the deal. Before I shave my head, I will do like very light smattering because the scars won't be that visible. I only need a couple of 100 grafts. Transplant the eyebrows.
That Persian side of me.
Get those
Persian eyebrows.
Persian eyebrows.
It works. It works.
And just whack it off and just,
Dude, you're in LA. I'm sure there's a place in Beverly Hills. There's some Persian guy that could do the Zarian eyebrow. It's like they just go through a catalog and they're like, is this what you want? Is this what you want? And you just pick it.
I have a guy right across the street, the best eyebrow hair transplant guy, one of the best in the country. And I'll tell
you know what? Who's judging that? I'm the one that could judge that. Let me go in there and talk to him.
I'm going to put his name out there. He's so good at what he does. His name is Mark Dower. He's an IHS member, and he really has made a name for himself in the world of eyebrow transplants. And it's a very difficult procedure to pull off well. And this guy's results are incredible.
Much less consistently.
Yeah. So if I were ever to get something done, I would fly you in, Zarian. And he would be able to judge things. So I couldn't have your exact eyebrows for my shaped face, but he would figure it out. And I'd be like, look, I just want the quasi-Zarian. And he'd make it happen. You could be a living model. All right, so listen, brother, it's great hearing from you. Guys, if you want to tune into the most popular, if you guys are into pro wrestling, why don't you give your shows a plug, man?
The most popular, I'll take that. The most popular professional wrestling radio show on the planet, Wrestling Observer Live on Sundays.
That's right.
I also do Mat Men. I also do Reliance. That's all I do now. I just do pro wrestling. It's become a whole career.
I love it.
A bizarre whole career for me. Isn't that? It's unbelievable how things happen.
Let me tell you, it worked out a lot better than the car show. I'll tell you that.
It worked out a whole lot better than that car show.
All right, brother. Love you, man. Talk to you later.
All right, dude.
Okay,
Talk
take
to you.
care.
Love you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you, man. Bye-bye.
Fucking Andrew Zarian, man.
That was good hearing from him. It was a good call.
He's
Love
a
it when he
good
calls.
kid. He is a good kid. He's not a kid anymore. I can't believe he's almost 40 years old.
He's a grown-ass man now with a family.
I was close
With a
to his age
beautiful
when we
wife,
met.
beautiful kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Well,
So you met him in high school?
He was. That's very funny. He was. I met him. I surprised him on his 25th birthday. I flew to New York. We'd already been working together, and so I was like 44.
Wow. Okay, almost there.
Yeah.
So I think it's time that we if we've got some calls, they can hold on. I need to at least discuss today's topic, because
do that.
people in the chat room are like, "Did I miss it? Did I miss it?" No, you didn't miss it. We just got sidetracked by phone calls and things like that. But it was great that Andrew called, because that's what he was talking about.
I think I'm getting
at
some
one point during the
finasteride ball
call.
pain. Hold on. Oh Jesus. Go ahead.
It's so bad. It was a great segue talking about the issues of side effects in finasteride, and the reason why I titled the show, "Will Finasteride be banned in the UK?" is because the way that this article makes it sounds like it's some sort of, I don't know, grand discovery that no one knew about.
Yeah.
And that it is, this dark secret that everyone should know about.
Yeah.
And the way that things go, and just to be clear, like, I don't know if it'll be banned. That's why it was quiet, kind of why it was a question. But it has to do with the way that things work nowadays. Is when you have some sort of negative issue that gets picked up by media and is repeated over and over ad nauseum, and every time it's repeated, it gets worse and worse, then things happen. So that's why I think that, in cases like this, it very well could be banned. I would be the last person to be surprised if that were the case. So just to give you guys some reference here. So, by the way, I did put the link down in the description of this live stream, so you can go there after the live stream during the replay if you want, and click on that. But it's on diabetes.co.uk. I don't know why it's on this website. I don't. Is this a blog? I don't know if it's a blog, but it says health officials have launched a safety review of a commonly used hair loss drug after side effects associated with this medication have reportedly increased by 30%. My first question, based on what? 30% based on what? Casual observations? Is there some sort of statistic that's actually documented?
Some
I'd like
sort
to
of,
know.
maybe more people are just complaining. And it's interesting that they just focus on the baldness aspect when a much higher dosage has been used since 1992, effectively with relatively low side effects.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's another point we can talk about. But it goes on to say, frequently taking the drug finasteride can trigger the development of some severe side effects such as low libido, erectile dysfunction, depression, and insomnia. New data has shown. When was this? When did they write that? Like, this is a 2023 article, so it's like none of this is new. Gynecomastia, slurred speech, and penis shrinkage are also side effects of the popular hair loss drug, users have said. All this is very anecdotal, unscientific.
It's very Irwig-like.
But here's one line that's actually been highlighted in the report. It says health reports have revealed that finasteride has also caused at least 70 people, wait for it, to feel suicidal as a result of taking the drug.
Well, I got to tell you that
70 people a lot?
Apparently it is. I mean, it doesn't matter how many people, keel over from other drugs. But yeah, apparently 70 people is a lot.
I know.
And it's also not to diminish it. But honestly, if you thought or if you actually physically couldn't get it up anymore, I could understand why you might feel a little suicidal. I get it. Totally get it if that's the reason.
Yeah, I get that for sure. But yeah, so let's see. Finasteride medication results. Okay, so it goes on to talk about what finasteride is. However, the UK's Medicine and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency, the MHRA, has launched an investigation into the safety of finasteride after increased fears of the negative side effects associated with the drug. I don't understand. Increased fears? So is it increased fears or increased reports of side effects by up to 30%? Which is it?
I would say that it's both. I would say that it's because of, people who have access through the internet to just file a complaint. People who do believe or may be having adverse side effects, who may or may not have had it if they didn't know anything about the adverse side effects. This is what I find interesting. And you know what? When people hear me, if they take it out of context, they're going to think that I'm diminishing the reality of these side effects. I am not. But it is just, it's an unusual phenomenon for like the first 13 years the drug is on the market, that reporting of these side effects were so low. And actually, there were none reported. Now, they did find data from the original clinical trials that came out later, maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, that Merck allegedly did not disclose that there were a handful, and I'm talking, I think it was like 5, I could be wrong, or less than 5, who reported that after they could discontinue the drug, they believed that they had continued adverse sexual side effects. But at least according to the paperwork, those patients never followed up after that.
Yeah.
And that's after a trial with over, 1,600 and something patients.
Yeah.
So if that was reported, and it should have been, or at least followed up on to see if they were transient, if they eventually diminished, we would have had a lot more access. But once that came out, that actually kind of, I think, reinforced some of the claims that are out there and made things look even more I'm not going to say cynical because that's the wrong word. And I'm trying to find the right word, and I hate when this happens, Joseph. Sinister. More sinister.
Sinister, yes.
Now, I want to tell you, there's no doubt in my mind that I believe that drug companies, pharmaceutical companies, the makers of pharmaceuticals, the makers of drugs, haven't always acted in the best interest of the patient. But I would say compared to everything else that's out there about a lot of other drugs, there's no doubt, again, even if you multiply the clinical trials by 10, as far as adverse side effects, still doesn't compare to most of the stuff that people are being prescribed on a daily basis, as far as SSRIs, hormonal birth control, if we're talking about sexual side effects. I mean, cimetidine was taken off the shelves for other reasons, making claims that it causes cancer, but that was causing people to be impotent. Like over-the-counter, Tagamet.
Yeah.
At much greater levels that would be reported forever. So, look, it's a lifestyle drug. We're dealing with hair loss. It's easy for the press to grab onto it. It's easy for, it's great clickbait. I believe that these people are suffering 100%. But what came first, the chicken or the egg? Are they suffering because it's been in their heads? Or is there really something causal that we can prove? So far, there hasn't been.
It's interesting here because
I'm going to get a lot of hate for this.
There's something in here that I actually agree with. It says it actually quotes the chairman of the Post-Finasteride Syndrome Research Association.
Yeah.
I just feel weird even saying that. But he says, leading into this, it says, according to the experts, virtual pharmacies are to blame for the increase in severe side effects associated with finasteride. Now, I think that's really interesting.
That is interesting.
Very interesting, actually. because and this guy is quoted as saying, the chairman of the PFS Association says online pharmacies are able to freely market this drug as a quick and easy fix to hair loss. I agree with that. Quote, men ashamed of losing their hair have been preyed on. We need stronger regulations that mean only doctors can prescribe finasteride, not websites, unquote. I agree with that. And here's why I find that interesting. I was actually speaking with a doctor recently about the generic versus name brand issue. Not even talking about this issue. And he was telling me, I'll go ahead and tell you, it's Dr. Sean Bainham, IAHRS accepted member. He happens to have a generic online finasteride company called Happy Head. You guys might have heard of it. It's quite popular. And he was telling me that the reason why generics, or he said that the reason why you can have side effects from a lot of these online medications is because even if it is actual real finasteride, they're inconsistent with their dosing.
Yes.
It may say 1 milligram or it may say 5 milligram, but is it really? And he said that many times he feels like it's a higher dosage, and he should know because he actually does a lot of testing of these types of medications.
Well,
he does a lot of testing of his own medication.
There was a recent issue, I'm not going to name the company, where it was kind of found out that this company is using a very specific kind of like lowbrow compounding pharmacy that allegedly had a lot of issues. And, that's what happens. That's what I always tell people. When people ask me about keeps and hims and all this stuff, I'm like, look, the products can work for sure. But when you're dealing with generics, and especially when you're dealing with a subscription base like that, and when you don't really have an assigned physician, a lot of things can go wrong. You want to know where that drug is sourced. You want to know if is it compounded in China? Is it compounded here in the United States? Are you just getting the raw materials in China? Or are you getting the raw materials in India? Who's the compounding pharmacy? How's the pharmacy working? Does the company have its own pharmacy or are they outsourcing? Which is usually the case. So I find that fascinating. That's a really good point. There's no doubt in my mind that since generics were approved, at least the complaints have gone up. Is it timing?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Is it coincidental? I don't know. I have no idea. But
well, to give, go ahead, finish your thought.
I already lost it.
Is it being 58.5, or is it the finasteride?
No, I think it's brain fog from 30 years of finasteride.
Oh my God, you're going to get so much for that one. So to continue and to give equal exposure for the other side, Merck & Company noted while consumers and healthcare professionals are encouraged to report adverse events, the reaction may have been related to the underlying disease being treated or caused by some other drug being taken concurrently or occurred for other reasons. That's also true. So, and it's got some other expert that's talking about the obvious stuff about what finasteride does. But here's the final thing that kind of causes me worry when it comes to perception. And I have a saying that I've said for many years: perception becomes reality, or perception can become reality, and that's for anything. Tom Brown, 28, developed post-finasteride syndrome after first taking the drug in 2012 to stop hair loss around his temples. After ordering finasteride from overseas, he took the drug daily until 2019. He said, quote, "I felt so depressed, then I got a whole bunch of other extreme symptoms, including penis shrinkage, difficulty peeing, insomnia, and slurring my words. This continued for years, and life became a day-to-day struggle. My erectile dysfunction was not even... it was so bad, not even Viagra made any difference." He added, quote, "I started taking this drug because everything I read said there were no risks, and it ended up turning my life upside down."
I feel bad for the guy.
How,
if he read anything,
how can you
it's
read
all about,
anything about finasteride?
As soon as you put out finasteride or Propecia, it's like, don't take this drug. You know, the first thing you see is the side effects.
Yeah. And he says, and then it says, representative from MHRA says, we're undertaking review of available evidence on benefits and risks of finasteride. This is part of our ongoing responsibility to monitor whether the benefits of all available medications in the UK outweigh their risks. So that's what worries me. That's what worries me. And then I went and I looked at a story that was written up on the website of the guy who's the chairman of the PFS Research Society, and it talks about this guy who, like 10 years ago, took one milligram pill, and immediately his life was destroyed. Over the course of several years, he went from 170 pounds to 130 pounds, and like his skin became softer, and like all these strange effects just from one pill. And I read stuff like that. I'm like,
look, shit happens, you know. I mean,
how?
I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. All I know is that every man that I know in my personal life is taking finasteride.
Yeah.
Everyone in the industry is taking finasteride. They are prescribing thousands of pills every month. You know?
Yeah.
Drugs have side effects. Side effects are real. People are dying from aspirin all the time, overdosing on Tylenol. Mm-hmm. It's all real. You know? I don't know what to say. It's heavy.
Well, I
will say that you're right about the perception, and I also believe in the mass hysteria part of it. But I also believe that this guy that was interviewed, his life has been harmed. And whether it's directly because of the drug or because of the way he processes things, and then, you know, that's the way his body works because of that. I hate to use psychosomatic because it's real. This shit happens to people, you know? But psychosomatic issues are real. I just saw this video on Instagram. I'll let you finish your thought. It was really interesting, or on YouTube. And it was an experiment to show how the brain could be trained to believe something is like you have real pain. So this doctor attached this rubber arm to this guy, and he told him to put his right arm over this border, you know, this divider. And then he covered his right arm. And he said, I'm going to train your brain now, and you're going to feel the sensation in the rubber hand that I'm giving on your right hand. So he took this ruler, and he's doing these sensations, and this guy's like, I think I feel it. And then all of a sudden he's like, I really do feel it. And then the guy stopped hitting the guy in the hand, or using the ruler on the guy's real hand, and was only using it on the rubber hand. And the guy felt every movement, every sensation. And then the guy hit him in the hand with the hammer, and the guy fucking lost it. It hit the rubber hand. And that was proof positive of just how powerful the mind is. And I'm thinking to myself, motherfucker, if I could just harness it in the other direction.
I know, right?
I could do anything.
That's good.
So it's very real, man. What's happening to these people is very real. But it's just fascinating to me that between the years of 1992 and 2005, by the way, a lot of guys who were taking it for hair loss back in the 90s, including myself, were taking a full 5 milligram dose.
Right.
Nobody talked about it. We were involved in message forums that had 30,000 members. You didn't hear one peep active. You didn't hear one peep about it, and everyone was taking this drug. Yeah, some of them couldn't get it up; they stopped taking it. Some of them had gynecomastia; they stopped taking it. Not one incident. You can go back message forums for years before 2005, and you just don't see it. How is that possible? Somebody tell me. I hope we get a call to let me know. Yeah, banning it, that would be that. I don't think that's going to happen, first of all. And if it even comes close, I'd have to reach out to their medical boards through the American Hair Loss Association I'll get some doctors together and say, look, there's no causal effect. To take this medication away from thousands of men who benefit from it, I think would be criminal. And I do think that patients should be under the supervision of a physician for sure.
Yeah.
When they're taking any
100%.
any medication.
And to reiterate,
Except for poppers.
Completely agree with the statement about the idea of ordering finasteride through websites without a doctor prescription. I'm completely against that. I think it's dangerous for one. Like, how do you know what you're getting? Like, in general, you don't really know what you're getting even at a brick and mortar. You don't know if somehow they didn't realize they got counterfeit stuff. Like, that happens in a lot of places, not so much on medications, but in life in general when you order something. But
sure.
I think it's imperative for people that are ordering any medication, not just finasteride, but any medication, to question the source. If you're a follower of this channel or this broadcast,
by the way, guys, hold on. We'll take your calls in a sec.
Or of any of Spencer's channels or my channels, you know that we always talk about the benefits of name brand versus generics and what the potential issues are. Some generics are fine. But when it comes to this, you're adding another layer of questionable outcome when you're ordering a prescription medication without a prescription from a doctor. Like, I don't even understand why people would want to do that. Oh, well, I don't have to go through a doctor. Maybe there's a reason you should. I don't know.
Well, I just want to make it clear that I am fine with telemedicine if it's done correctly. But when if I wanted to start a company today like this, and I've been offered opportunities, and I know somebody who recently did start one. He's a well-known influencer. Essentially, all you do is have to hire a company that there are companies that actually do work with prescribing doctors in every state. Doctor just will get on either a phone call or on a video call, spend a second with you. You fill out some forms ahead of time. He'll be like, okay, yeah. Okay, you are losing your hair. You don't have this. You don't have any of this. You're not taking this medication. Okay, great. Rarely will they not prescribe the medication. That's not the way to go, in my opinion.
Okay. I like it.
What's going on?
What's going on?
Okay.
Oh.
But we do have some calls on the line. I'm sorry. I was just interrupted by a very a text. This person keeps texting me. He's very annoying.
I hate when that happens. I hate when that happens.
So let's see. I'm going to take. Let's try this one. You're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Adrian from Melbourne, guys. How you doing?
Adrian from Melbourne. How are you, man?
Adrian.
Yeah, good. I'm a little tired. It's Saturday morning here. I had an average sleep. But, yeah, sorry. I've been meaning to ring in for a while and just touch base. But, yeah, look, life's good. I'm 7 months post-op from hair transplant number 2. And I've got to say, when I rub my hand through the back of my head, the donor scars where pubic hair and beard hair was farmed in there, that's really thick as hell. Like, I'll do a video at some point and comb through it. And I've looked myself.
Oh, no, that's okay. We don't need to see that. Oh, you mean the donor area? Sorry, I thought you, or
yeah.
the recipient area. Okay, I thought you meant the donor area where. Okay, yeah.
Why don't you if you could have your new girlfriend do the combing, then I think Joe will look at it.
There you go.
Yeah. So in the donor scars, I'm just really happy how it's growing. It is growing. And
well, first of all, I just want to tell you that obviously we've never met in person, and all I see is images and video of you, but and that could make things look a little different. But from what I have been able to observe, they they really created a miracle for you, man. And I'm really thrilled. I'm really thrilled for you.
Yeah, thanks, Spencer. And they did, and it goes beyond hair. You know, it really does. At the time, that was all it was about. But you know, they've gotten rid of the scars. You can't see them anymore.
Dude, it has completely transformed your life. You don't only look different, you sound different. From the time I first spoke to you, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, whenever, to now.
Yeah.
You sound like someone that has been through hell and back and turned into a motivational speaker, because that's how confident you are comparatively. That's how positively it's impacted your life. And look at you, like, you're helping others, which is what you should be doing. Like, paying it forward. That's great. You got a hot young girlfriend. Or fiance. She's your fiance now, right?
Yeah, look, it's funny, if I saw a supermodel tomorrow and went up to her, and I'd probably have to say to her, look, sorry, love, but I've had better. I mean, things are going well on that front. Absolutely.
Things are going well for you. I'm really happy
fantastic.
for you on that.
That's
But it is. You said it goes beyond hair. That doesn't even begin to do it justice. Not even remotely.
No, cheers, Joe. And that's a really important point you've made. Just on the female front, and I've told this to people who've messaged me. And Shay and I, we actually met 3 years ago. We met when I had no hair, and I really want young guys who are listening or watching this show right now to realise this. I had a shaved head, and she was in love with me then as much as she was or is now, and we fool ourselves into thinking that can't be true, that can't be possible. No one will love us or accept us, or and that could be even ourselves, not just our peers or women or guys or whatever. But it is true, and I think that comes with maturity. And I wouldn't have believed that at 18, but I believe it now as a 56-year-old because I've experienced, and I just don't want other people to make the mistakes that I made. And on Instagram, I get that many people who just contact me out of the blue, and it's always the same deal that they're always young. I guess their age. I tell them, I bet you're under 25, and they are. And and a lot of them are a lot younger than that. And I just try and show them what happened to me with the photos I've got of scars, and say, look, you're not thinking the way I will think, and it's not because I'm an old man and don't care about hair. I certainly do care about my hair. But
you're not an old man.
The thing is, well, to them I am. But not to my girlfriend, which is more important. but your brain is not hardwired enough to think rationally. Like mine wasn't at 18 when I went and had punch graft surgery twice, I should add. So
I think mine was for some reason because I was kind of forced to grow up early and make a living and do things for my family that I don't think a lot of teenagers were had to do. So I just kind of thought, and I was very suspicious because of those experiences, and going into business early and doing shit like that. And I was just very sus. Everything was very sus to me. It didn't make sense when the doctor wanted to do a hair transplant on me, and I still had a full head of hair, even though it was thinning.
Well, that's the thing. I think your emotional IQ was a lot higher, Spence, than mine was, because I guess I kind of knew that, but I didn't want to believe it.
Yeah.
And still went ahead.
Well, Josie was down the tubes, apparently, because he ended up getting 2 bad ones.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. In
the same year.
I had one. Yeah, that's true, Joe. That's true. And I saw the results the next day as I was in the shower and took the bandages off and washed everything out. Then I looked in the mirror and I just saw a row of Barbie doll hair. And I thought, what the fuck have I done? And then I went back to the doctor, and of course, what his advice was, oh, we can fix that. We can do another one. And so, dumb me, what do? I did another one. And, anyway, it's a long story. You guys know it. So I want to pay back from where I'm sitting right now that, you know, even bad work. You know, a lot of people who contact me, they've had really bad work, and it's either the hairline's too low, too pluggy, etc. And so I just want them to know that, well, it can be reversed. You know,
Adrian, I had a guy contact me through Instagram, and he'd seen either the video before last, whatever I put up this week, that was just describing the reality that a lot of young guys go in, they have these, FUE sessions. They have no idea that in a couple of years, essentially they're going to be left with, nothing but their dicks in their hands. They don't know what they're in for yet, even if they think it worked out well. This guy contacts me, and he said that he's 4 months post-surgery. He's ecstatic. And he says he wants me to show him proof, like examples. And I'm just like, look, kiddo, we are the clearinghouse for complaints worldwide, globally. And I have no skin in the game. What's in it for me to tell you guys that you can get fucked up? Doesn't help me. Doesn't make me any money. This is the attitude that these kids have. And they're just, they think, this kid is 4 months out and he's ecstatic. What's he ecstatic about? That he got it done? That he hopes that someone's going to grow in? He has no idea what he's in for. Hopefully he doesn't have, anything that's visible right now, any damage that's visible right now, but he may not even know. Another kid that contacted me says that he actually contacted Spencer Stevenson about his case, and I told him to call the show. He did have surgery 8 months ago in Turkey, and he's saying that his donor is depleted already after his first surgery. Every day, man.
Apart from that, I know. The over-harvesting is insane. The amount of yield, or the rate of yield, is very low, and if they're lucky, they'll get permanent shock loss, which you see all the time too.
No, and here's another example. I'm going to talk about this. And I know Joe's got to go because he's hangry, but there's a Christian Basanga put up a video of a guy. I don't know if he's African American or where he's from, but he's Afrocentric, from an African descent, and Christian, and he could be right, is saying that it was these keloid type of scars were caused by using cheap equipment and the heat of the cheap equipment. But what I'm seeing is really a consistent flow of complaints from people of African descent, black people, and Asians who are going overseas, getting this type of scarring. So is it all because of the device, or is it because, they're getting these mega sessions removed? They're more prone in general to keloid scarring, and that this is something that really needs to be put out there for the Afrocentric African American community and the Asian community. That look, this is for real. It may be a good idea to even have a couple of test punches done before the procedure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I may use that video and obviously give Christian credit, because that's not an isolated incident. That's happening a lot. A lot of black guys now are going overseas to get hair transplants. And even worse, this is the crazier thing, beard transplants. I saw this one guy, really good-looking kid. He's an influencer, gets a lot of eyeballs, and it's growing in well. He looks good. But I can tell you that the hair was not taken from 100% DHT-resistant areas. If he does suffer from androgenetic alopecia at some point, he's going to lose that beard, or at least a big part of it, and he has no idea.
Yeah, that's so true. Well, at least mine went to a good cause, but that's terrible. But look, and the other thing too, no hair transplant's perfect too. With mine, I'm wrapped. I'm over the moon. But there's points I could look at in the mirror and say that's a little weak here, or a little thin there. But that's the nature of the beast, and people, there's a couple of young guys I've seen on a forum, and they're complaining about the results of their hair transplant, and they're 6 months out. It's not even 12 months. And
yeah, that's another issue.
And then, yeah. So, look, my advice is shave your head. And I remember, Joe, you actually, the first thing you said to me when you called me those years ago was, have you thought about shaving your head? And my response was, no, look, I just couldn't do it. And you don't know until you do it. You do not know until you've done it. And even with the scars, I thought, look, I'll get SMP and cover it. And I put a photo of myself after I'd shaved my head, had SMP on Facebook, and I had about, I don't know, out of how many friends I've got, you know, most of them are still pending, but that's beside the point. But of all the friends I've got, they all said, hey, you look 10 years younger for shaving your head. And, it was good. It was easy, buzzing my head every day for all of 60 seconds. But for me, in my case, the hairline scar, I was still self-conscious of it, as well as the scars in the back. They were improved by about 70, 80%, which was a huge difference.
Yeah, listen, I'm really happy for you. You're a guy who's gone through a lot. And I guess, I mean, it's good to know that you're not alone, but I guess the sad part is there's so many people who, as bad as your situation was, they were worse. Guys who got brandy scalp lifts and stuff that these kids don't even know. I mean, the stuff that used to be done back in the 70s and the 80s was barbaric, man. And what's interesting is what's happening today is barbaric too. There's no doubt about it. What's happening overseas, here in the U.S. by these tech-driven, turnkey device makers, and tech-driven clinics. It's not the device's fault, even though some doctors like to claim that. It really is the fact that there are doctors who are willing to allow relatively unskilled people perform in surgeries under the auspices of their license without even knowing whether or not these people have the skill set to do it right. It's one thing if they have the skill set to do it right, but a lot of these people don't. But it's a mess. What's happening now is it's almost as barbaric as what was happening in the 70s and the 80s.
Well, and also too, it's happening on a Holocaust scale.
Oh,
that's the other thing too.
It's a scale that no one understands. And you know what? It's interesting. I'm going to say this one more time. The hate that I get on my Instagram from these kids once I just tell the truth. I'm like, listen, guys, I didn't twist your arm to get a hair transplant. I'm sorry you fucked up. What do you want me to do? I'm trying to save the people who haven't fucked up yet. Or at least make you guys aware that, you know what? Be vigilant. Keep an eye on things. You should definitely be on medication if you've already had surgery. Talk to your doctor. You want to try to mitigate any possible damage that may have already been done. You know, to me, that would all be like really, I'd be grateful for this information.
Yeah. Well, the hate you get, Spence, it just validates the fact that at such a young age, you are not in a mental state to make an executive decision when it comes to hair transplantation. You can't.
Big believer in that. Yeah.
100%, man. Well, listen, Adrian, we're gonna get going. I think that
no worries, guys.
Joe
thanks again for the show.
He's got a dinner date with his dog.
Thank you for everything. And just lastly, just a big shout out to Y. I've been following Women's Hair Loss Project.
Is she in the room?
And
no, I don't think so.
Just how brave. And shaving her head and showing her head shaved, and there's a lot.
Amazing.
Let me tell you, she is an amazingly strong person. I followed her for a very long time. I know her personally, as she's been in this studio. I see her now with her shaved head. It is just like, wow. I mean,
I think she's smoking with a shaved head, but yeah.
Oh, she's smoking either way, but it really comes down to how a person feels about themselves, and for her, the way that she's described it, it's been an incredibly difficult process to get to this point, and I think she's right. I've been reading some of her stuff and listening to her stuff, and she says that, people kind of diminish it by saying, oh, well, you've won, you shaved your head. She's a woman that's had to go through this, and struggled to get to this point, and now she's showing the world, and she's not selling anything. That's what's crazy. I'm like, I gotta call her up and say, listen, you should start selling something. Put some money in your pocket. But she's not doing it. She's the only woman online, I think the only woman online, that's in that hair loss sphere, and she's the OG that is not sold out.
Yeah.
And I got to give her credit for that. I admire her a lot.
Yeah, she's the real deal. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, brother. Congratulations.
Thanks, Adrian.
Thank you.
I understand that Joe's your best man. I don't know if that's the best choice, but whatever.
Well, yeah.
I think it's pretty
don't
upsetting, personally.
Yeah, don't catch the bouquet. That's my advice. But anyway.
Trust me, I will run from it. All right, brother. Take care,
Adrian.
Hey, guys.
Okay, bye-bye.
You too. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, guys, let's call it a night. You have anything to add, Joe? We won't take any more calls, but so you don't have to worry about that. But
No, I'm glad for the calls today. I appreciate everyone calling in, and I don't know. I thought it was an interesting subject to put into the thumbnail. I hope that people think about this kind of stuff, and yeah,
I do think that we're going to get a lot of shit for being honest about the reality, at least the real statistics that we're aware of, because we're in the field and we're privy to so much information by so many prescribing doctors. It is not happening in their clinic.
And that's okay.
It is not happening. These severe adverse side effects have not been happening for these hundreds of doctors who are prescribing the drug. So is it possibly because of the generics that are being sold, coming from overseas, that are being sold through these subscription companies? Maybe. I don't know. Is there a nocebo effect? Maybe. I don't know. But we're just talking, we're giving you our reality. We're privy to a lot of information. This is the information that we get. We don't know everything. That's all I'm going to say.
No.
All right, guys.
Well said.
I want to thank everybody for tuning in, as usual. It was a lot of fun. Follow me on Instagram, @Spencer Kobren. Follow Joe Tillman, @Joe Tillman Official.
Joe Tillman Official. Yep.
Joe Tillman's, don't forget to subscribe to the Hair Transplant channel. That's youtube.com. Jeez, I got a bug in here. youtube.com/Hair Transplant Mentor, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right, guys.
And like this video.
And like the video. Until next time, be strong, God bless, and thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for any inconvenience you may have been put to prior to the programme, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you could now leave by the exits at the rear, that'd be splendid. Thank you. Good night.